Avengers Endgame has officially been released. It's crushing the box office, shattering records, just demolishing. And I'm hoping the majority of you have seen it. I wanted to give you guys enough time to see the movie before I talked spoilers. So that's your warning. This is going to be a spoiler-filled review. Before I get any farther in the review, I have to do something very special. Now that you've been warned, we can talk about spoilers. I can finally talk about this movie now. I can actually say things fully, completely, without worrying about spoilers. First off, I want to make an amendment. I made an error in my original review. The Russo brothers did not write the film as well as direct. That's my fault. They directed the film. The script was written by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, and they did an excellent job. I apologize for that. It's my bad. But I mentioned in my review that I had something that I predicted, that I was thinking it might go a certain way. Most of my friends were saying they're going to use the time stone to reverse time and blah, blah, blah. And that's kind of where everyone was gravitating towards. But I was pretty sure they were going to try to do time travel and jump back and forth between other films we had seen before in the past 10 years and loop all of them into this big arc, and that's exactly what they did. And I said in my review, I wasn't disappointed by that. I wanted that to happen. I love the idea of Captain America and Tony and all of them encountering their past selves, looking back on things they did, maybe some things that they weren't too happy about and they had to comment on them. The America's ass joke was great. I loved how that played throughout the scene. But it does take a while to set up the rules of what they're going for, and you kind of just have to sit back and accept it. All right, Tony Stark's a genius, Bruce Banner's a genius. They're all geniuses in different ways. Okay, they did it. They got time travel. All right, they'll fucking figure it out, I guess. You just kind of have to accept it and just move on with it. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting there nitpicking. That's what I talked about the most when I referred to nitpicking in my original review. It's super easy to nitpick time travel movies, and different films, as mentioned in this movie, have presented it in various ways, where if you go back and change something, it means the future gets changed. But this film takes the idea of that creates a branch reality, like an alternate reality when you change it. And so it's a little confusing to really think about what's going on in the first act, and you can really nitpick it hardcore, or you can just enjoy the experience because the Russo brothers made a damn good movie. I expected Thanos to be out of the picture somehow because he was barely in a trailer, and I found that odd. And so I wasn't that surprised that they murder him right off the bat. I loved Thor's line, "I went for the head," calling back to Infinity War. I really liked how that all played out. And that was sort of the movie we expected to see, but maybe some people thought that would happen more towards the end. Sort of like the beginning of Glass. The first 20 minutes of Glass was how I thought the whole movie would be, but it was just the beginning. And then we cut to 5 years later. And that was surprising. And I loved how Steve was part of a self-help group. He was sort of doing like what Falcon did. He was just doing everything he could to help people, even if he couldn't be Captain America like he used to be. He was just in a self-help group talking to people about their feelings, and I thought that was really special. When Ant-Man comes back into play with information about the quantum realm, things really start to get moving in regards to the time travel element of the plot, but they gotta get Tony back in there. He's got a kid now, which is awesome. That was obviously one of the most heartfelt aspects of the movie. I have seen so many people talking about that line, "I love you 3000," because it really is kind of crushing, especially when you see how the film plays out. I like what they did with Hawkeye too. They definitely took him in a direction I didn't really anticipate. Tried to stay away from plot details. I knew of the Ronin persona and what that meant for him, but I just didn't really know what exactly they were going to do with him. And I loved the scene where he's killing folks in Tokyo. That was awesome. And they did a good job of reminding us why Black Widow and Hawkeye are friends in this movie. They tried to hit the right emotional beats leading up to Black Widow's eventual sacrifice and what that means for those characters. They even referenced Budapest again. And let's talk about that sacrifice for a minute, because I kind of wanted Hawkeye to be the guy to jump. And so when he jumps, I was like, okay, I'm satisfied. But then Black Widow saved him, and I was like, damn. I get it. He's got a family. He has a wife. He has kids. My preference is that I've always liked the Black Widow character more than Hawkeye. So I would have loved to have seen her stick around for the final battle at least. But I get that in the sense of moral rightness, it makes more sense for Hawkeye to be alive so he can take care of his kids and family. I just kind of wish that Black Widow had survived that. At the same time, it confuses me because they finally announced a deal to make a Black Widow movie, and I'm wondering if that's going to still happen. It would obviously have to be a prequel then, I would assume. I hope that they finally make a Black Widow movie. It's one of the films I've been wanting to see ever since the beginning of her introduction in Iron Man 2. I've always wanted a Black Widow movie, and I hope they still do it. I just don't know what they're going to do with it now. Now, in my original review, I mentioned that the film does take risks with its characters. One of them being Thor. And I gotta be honest, I fucking loved it for a lot of reasons. Chris Hemsworth, he is hilarious. He is a way, way better actor than he gets credit for. He is phenomenal. But I kind of loved it for another reason too. He's got this beer belly through the whole movie. He has crushing anxiety and panic attacks. And yet, he still dons his outfit and he fights Thanos nevertheless. He never uses magic or some superpowers to get back to his old shape. He just stays that way. And he fights Thanos and stands up for himself and his friends. And I thought that was a good message. You do not have to look like a Maxim model to be a hero. I like that. It's cool. Another risk that could potentially put off people was what they did with Hulk in this film. They've now sort of merged him into the Professor, a smarter version in which Banner and Hulk have sort of combined to just exist. I loved it. I mean, why not? They have continuously done different things with the Hulk to make sure he doesn't get stale, because that's the biggest danger with that character. He's a fan favorite for a reason, but if he just shows up and smashes things in every movie, it wouldn't really be that cool after a while. But they have always tried to take him in a different direction. Ragnarok, they finally had him talk, and he was in this weird planet, and he was happy being there, and it was just really funny. He disappeared for a while after Ultron, and now he's back with this new thing. And in Infinity War, he barely showed up at all. So they've tried to do their best to make that character stay fresh, and I love the idea that Banner, being as smart as he is, would figure this out finally. Finally accept what's inside of him for what it is and just learn to live with it. And really, I just have to give it to the entire creative team behind the MCU for crafting this world for as long as they have. Because as we got towards that final battle with past Thanos realizing, you know what, this doesn't have to happen anymore. Clearly, my life dream is not worth anything, because the people who are left over, they're always going to miss what they had and not accept what they have. And so we get the big final battle. They did get the Infinity Stones and were able to bring everybody back. And I have to give such props to the creative team, because I just didn't realize how emotionally invested I was in it. This movie has something that a lot of Marvel movies don't have, and it's actually a feeling of finality. You feel like you are experiencing something ending. And like, this is really something to pay attention to. And I felt invested. And my God, I mean, let's talk about Tony Stark. So I definitely cried. And when I say I cried, I didn't like tear up. I was full on bottom lip quivering, just a little jittery shaking. Just, I really felt it for this character. And Downey Jr., I've seen a lot of campaigning for him to get an Oscar nomination for this movie, and I would totally be behind that. Who cares if he's wearing a CGI suit or something? Like, his performance is excellent. He's really great in this movie, and the idea of his final words being the words that ended the first Iron Man film, that's also just a gorgeous idea. I thought it was wonderful. Oh my God, yes, I forgot about Captain America with Thor's hammer. You see, that right there is, every movie has like that one moment where you're like, fuck yes! And that was this movie's moment for me. That was just great. You know, it harkened back to Ultron where Steve budged the hammer and Thor got that look like, what? Oh shit. That whole sequence was just pure fan happiness. It gave me what I needed. It made me feel fulfilled. It made me happy. It made me excited. But after Tony died, his funeral, like, I was already feeling it when he gave the message to his family. And then when you see the flowers floating, and but the next shot where it pans across like everyone he's impacted over these years, even the kid from Iron Man 3, Ty Simpkins, I lost it. I mean, I lost it. I saw it at a press screening, and then my wife and I went to a drive-in theater, actually. There's a drive-in still near us in Ohio, and I saw it a second time at the drive-in. And we're in the car, and the windows are fogging up because we're just bawling our eyes out. Like, I can hear my wife. She's, like, crying like she's lost a real loved one. That's how well these guys crafted this universe. And you just have to give it to them, despite what nitpicks you could have with each little film and some of the other Marvel films that aren't really that great. you just have to sit back and really give them a round of applause for crafting such a unique universe that is filled with so many amazing characters. And it's not really until you see that arc that you can actually sit back and think, man, they really did something unprecedented. And this is probably not going to happen for a long time. So after that funeral, Captain America's got to go try to hide the Infinity Stones, and he goes away for a long time. He doesn't come back in the machine like they think he's going to, and he shows up as this old man. And you realize he's lived an entire life up until now, and he looks extremely fulfilled and happy. He gives the shield to Sam Falcon. One of my friends was hoping it was Bucky. I'm actually really glad it's Sam. Yeah, he has more of an emotional connection with Bucky, but let's just say the MCU was real life. Okay, and Captain America was legitimately Captain America in real life, soldier, you know? And we got this Winter Soldier guy who was like a terrorist for a while, like shooting up public streets and buses and trying to murder people. Doesn't really make sense to me to give that person the shield, even though it was mind control and everything. It's like the general public persona would be like, why is he Captain America? Like, that's a terrorist, you know? Sam's been by Cap's side this whole time. He's never missed a step. I like that. I really thought that was cool. And the final scene with Rogers and Carter dancing, that was emotionally satisfying. Just about everything I wanted to see happened the way I wanted to see it, and some of the extra things I got, I was fine with. And like I said in my original review, I think one of the best parts of this movie is that the superheroes here feel more human than they ever have before. They feel desperate. They feel like they've got something to lose, and they have lost. So honestly, this movie gave me just about everything I wanted. I had little minor nitpicks here and there, but I did enjoy it more the second time, just like I did with Infinity War. There's probably some things I forgot to mention, and oh, Stan Lee's final cameo, yeah, that was sad too. It was nice to see him though, but there's probably a few things I forgot to mention, but overall, those are my in-depth thoughts on Endgame. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Let me know what you thought of the film down below, and as always, if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.